Hello guys, my name is Nelson and today I'm going to be teaching you how to take this picture and turn it into this picture. I'm going to give you a quick run through on the steps that you have to do to age your photographs in Photoshop. So this one's already done. I'm just going to go ahead and fix this up here so I can start it almost from scratch. Now, the first thing you're going to need is you're going to need the photo that you're going to age. So this is the photo that I'm going with. It's a photo that I took a while back, and you're going to import it into Photoshop, open it up, and then what you're going to do, you're going to go to Google and type in paper texture. There we go, paper textures, and you're going to pick a texture that you're going to want to mimic on your photo. So something with a similar color range without a lot of contrast works best for the blending modes, because if it has too much contrast it's probably not going to work so well, or you're going to run into issues. So you're going to pick one, and I'm going to show you the one that I went with. This is the one that I went with. Very flat, not too much contrast, some folds in the paper, some crinkles, and it looks pretty good. And after you do this, you're going to want to mess about with your blending options. I chose multiply, and that's what worked well for me. Rule of thumb is if you're going with a top layer that's lighter than your bottom layer, these top 5 will do what you're looking for. One of them will, and if it's the opposite, these bottom 5. So if your top layer is darker than your bottom layer, these top 5. And then overlay is also a good option, but overlay usually it fades it's more transparency, it's not so much a blend. And yeah, so multiply worked well for what I wanted to do. The only thing is I don't like how there's not enough detail on the paper. So to bring out the detail on the paper, what I'm going to do is add an adjustment layer, and I'm going to go to levels. Levels lets you control the color range in your image. You can bring out the shadows in your image. You can bring up the highlights, mess with the midtones. One thing you're going to have to do first is make sure that the levels adjustment layer is clipped to your paper layer. That way anything you do on the levels adjustment layer will only affect the paper layer and not your bottom layer. So we're going to go back here, double click on the circle, and then now you see if you adjust this, it's only going to affect the paper layer as before it was affecting everything. So I'm going to bring it to a spot where I think I like it. It's a bit too dark. Pull this back, pull the midtones, and I think that should work fine. Okay, so you're basically already done the majority of the work here. One thing that I am going to do, or one of two things that I'm going to do, is I'm going to add another adjustment layer, this time above the photo and below the paper layer, and I'm going to do levels. I'm going to do curves. And if you've done any photography, you know this, you're familiar with this little box. I prefer using this over brightness and contrast to do what I'm about to do, because this you can pick out certain color ranges in your photo. So what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to kind of fade my blacks. So you're going to go and drag this dot up to a point you like, and that just kind of fades the black, gives it a more matte look, gives it more of a printed photo like effect to it, and that's about it. And that's all I'm going to do with that look. I'm going to close it at that, and I'm going to create a clipping mask. Delete that one. That was the layer that I accidentally created before, and I just forgot to get rid of it. So disregard that. Go here, create clipping mask. Now, I like what it did to the blacks, but I also don't like how dark my image is. So you'll take the midtones up just a little bit, just to brighten it up a little bit. And there you go. That's about it. It gives your whites kind of an aged yellow, and your faded blacks really pull it all together, and that's how you age your photo in Photoshop. Thank you for watching, and please check out our blog if you haven't already, and follow us on Twitter and Facebook.